We're here. We're back.
Hey, hey, Mr. Ron.
Hello, Mr. Tone.
How are you doing on the other side of the big pond?
Oh my gosh. I would like to be on that side of the big pond in front of your pond
Yeah,
right now.
well, I miss you guys, and it kind of makes me want to be on the other side of the pond as well,
Yeah,
which is pretty unusual because it's not a great place to be in the United States of America nowadays,
I'm
I
glad
guess.
I'm glad you
No
said
offense,
that.
no offense, no
No, no,
offense.
no offense taken, but I'm glad
Absolutely
you
not.
said that
Yeah.
because I was going to say I don't know if you want to be here right now, honestly.
Well, as a tourist, maybe it's not that bad, but yeah, it's pretty bad, isn't it? I
Well,
saw the other day. I saw the news clip of the. Oh, yeah, we got to talk about this shit
yeah.
one day.
Oh,
Yeah,
so
the whole.
just to let people
Oh,
know, this particular episode is not going to be your usual warm and fuzzy talk of gardens and relationships and
yeah.
how
Still,
things are.
still,
I mean,
still.
we're gonna touch on that obviously, but
Of course.
we both decided to
Yeah.
talk about the elephant in the room or the elephant in the world. You pick.
Right.
And that elephant is
Yeah.
politics, and we may actually touch on religion because
Mm,
some individuals out there have a cult of personality so powerful and so strong,
mm,
it's almost like a
yeah.
religious cult.
We're still
So,
gonna try to keep it airy.
uh-huh.
Don't want to be too hard on it. Too hard-headed. How do you say that?
No,
Yeah.
I
Mm.
well, let's see where it goes. So
Let's see where
you
it goes. Yeah.
right before we turned the cameras on, you had mentioned something that had occurred to you recently that you wanted to talk about.
Yeah. Well, there are several things that bother me. Yes, of course, there are two big elephants in the room, as far as I'm concerned, or three at least. And well, the thing over at your end, of course, the Mr. Trump, who is, I don't know. Well, as I told you the other day, how how do you call yourself a very honest person? Isn't that something that somebody else would say about you? As in a compliment. It seems kind of
People,
inappropriate or something like that.
people
It's
here,
really weird.
here's the thing. What people are doing is, those who defend will simply
Oh,
pick and choose the actions that suit their narrative. And, folks don't seem to remember or conveniently forget, or maybe they just don't know. When you
yeah.
call this guy a successful businessman, in my mind, in my mind, I think of titans of society, and I think of individuals who have engaged in great philanthropic endeavors to make the world a better. To me, a guy like Michael Dell of Dell Computers is a successful
Mm,
businessman. Not someone who has a half dozen bankruptcies and growing under his belt, and has
right,
been litigated against more than most common criminals with a rap sheet. So, but
right,
again,
right.
people defend, so they forget, first of all, he's not a self-made man. He got his money from his daddy. And
He
number
did.
two, he's a reality TV personality.
He is. Yeah, that's what he is. Exactly.
He
He
just
was businessman slash,
he
it
just
was Dragon's
yeah.
Den, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
he just found a way to make the United
Oh,
States his um his hub, his
yeah.
terminus by which all sorts of money could come in.
Right,
The
right.
guy's personal businesses made close to $2 billion in the four
In debt.
years he occupied the White
Oh my
House.
God. Yeah. Yeah, well, there you go. That's more than he ever made on his own, I guess. It's kind of strange, the whole thing about him. So when you watch the Netflix series, that half of it is true. There are a lot of people he put into bankruptcy on a personal level because he cheated a lot of contractors that they worked for him
Yes.
in the time when he was in Vegas, when he built his
Not not
What
just
was that
Vegas.
again?
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
not.
for instance. Yeah, this New York
And
Times was bad as well. But
and you know, here's a thing. I think you and I talked about this. Um,
of
you might have even mentioned it. You had said how successful a businessman can you be if you own a casino and it goes bankrupt? It's a casino.
exactly. Yeah, well, he had it built way too expensive as well. His break-even point was way off. He couldn't do it. That's it. He just couldn't do it. And as a result of that, a lot of people got bankrupted as well. A lot of companies that used to work for him. A lot of people on a personal level as well. That was
It
really bad, really, really
it's
bad.
it's
And
an it's
now he's supposedly is all for the average guy and stuff like that, and will make America great again. What does that even mean? I don't know. As a Dutch person or a European person, it's for me, it's pretty amazing.
well,
And of
let's can we dig into that for a moment? What
course,
does it look like? Because I've always jokingly said if there was a way I could sell popcorn to the world because they have front row seats to the
yeah,
show, I would. So tell
yeah,
me what it looks like from your end, and I'll just let people know. Tone, it's always an embarrassment to me on behalf of my country when people that I know that I'm especially those that I'm friends with that live in other
yeah,
countries know more about American politics than Americans do. But Tone is even
yeah.
better educated than the norm. So I would love for you to
Mm,
share your insights and thoughts on
mm.
what the train wreck that's taking place on this side of the pond looks like to you all.
Yeah, well, um, we talked about this about that before, and we did. And um, the strange thing in American society and also in American politics is the polite how do you call that? Political correctness.
Correct.
That's one aspect of it. And in American politics, there is this thing like the American people. It's a very important topic, but only if it suits the government, stuff like that. See? And America's all about pro-choice, but basically there's a lot of choice, but the things that really matter, you don't have any choice. You only have two parties. And in a
It's
way,
it's
that's a good
about
thing
it's
because it
about
makes it
pro
more easy. But
it's it's about pro-choice as long as you choose what we want you to.
exactly, exactly, Ronald Weasley, exactly, spot on. That's what it is. And so that's the most glaring contradiction in American politics. And they always go like, "Yeah, the people don't want that." Well, uh, sometimes the people don't want it. You're going to do it anyway. So what's the big deal about this statement? And there's like this ingenuity, blah, 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 stuff like how do you say that? That's a difficult word.
Which what are
It's
you trying
like
to say?
not really being sincere. Like,
Oh, disingenuous.
yeah, disingenuous. Thank you.
You
Yeah,
you you knew
that's
what you were saying.
always they always strike me. Yeah, they always strike me as being ingenuous in that word.
Yeah, disingenuous. But
Yeah,
it what
because
they become talking heads who are saying exactly what it is that
right,
they believe their followers for
right,
lack of a better word, want to hear them say. It's interesting. Um, you know, Mike Michael Douglas, uh, and this, I think we talked about this 6, 7, 8 years ago, maybe a decade. I honestly don't remember what year he released this, but it's a great 10-minute short clip on American politics today. And he speaks on behalf of an organization called represent.us. And he talks about how once upon a time, American politicians were focused on representing their constituency. And now
right,
their focus is on taking care of number one, the lobbyist and the companies, but number two, just as important, campaigning to get into office the next time, provided there are no term limits. That is now
right.
more important to most politicians than actually representing their individuals. And I think you see to some degree that happen in certain states where where the legislature might represent a supermajority of one party or the other, and they just push bills through regardless of what the citizens of a particular state want or don't want. And I wanted to ask you a question that popped into my head this morning. What were you thinking and what were you feeling the first time you ever went to vote?
The first time I ever went to vote, what was I thinking? Well, who the hell do I choose? That's what I was thinking. Because the first time you can vote in the Netherlands is when you're 18 years old. What's it
Correct.
in the States? Around the
Same. It
same?
is the
Yeah.
same.
Yeah. So by that age, it's not really part of my life,
I
politics.
will, I will,
You
I
know,
will point, I want to interrupt you for a moment to also share with the rest of the world
I suppose.
that you have to be 18 to vote in the United
Yeah.
States. In almost every state, you have to be 21 to drink legally, but
Yeah.
you can be 18 to join the military and be deployed somewhere where you can
Yeah.
travel to what was there used to be a
Really
really
strange.
sarcastic statement. You join the military, travel to faraway exotic places and kill people.
Yeah.
It's
Yes.
not that way anymore, but
That's really strange. Yeah.
it is.
It
And
is really strange. Yeah.
here's why I asked you if you remembered, because I was listening to and he's polarizing, I think, for all the right reasons, excuse me. Jon Stewart. Do you know who Jon Stewart is?
Yeah. I guess he's a TV
He is. He
news
is.
host
But
or
he is. He's
something like yeah,
brilliant. And so
I
here's
do.
something fascinating about
I
Jon
know him.
Stewart. Jon Stewart has been a
Yeah.
keynote speaker at um the national, what is it, the National Reporters Luncheon. It's a big gathering that takes place in
Right.
Washington, D.C. And he
Yeah.
has said more than once, he goes, there is something wrong with news reporting and media in the United States when you invite a comedian to talk about the news at your conference. And
Right.
he makes great points and he doesn't hold back. But what was interesting was I was listening to him field a question from a young audience member who said she asked him, "What do you do when you feel like you don't have a choice? Because I don't feel like I'm relevant here with two candidates, neither of which I want to vote for." And
Right.
he goes, "You do have a choice." And he said, "Your voice feels now like it's not relevant, but let me tell you something." And he's right about this. When you ask any marketing company what their chosen demographic is, they will tell you 18 to 24 or 18 to 27. They're after those people who are
Yeah. Of
fresh out of high school, maybe going to
course.
college,
Yeah.
focused on a
Yeah.
career, and they're already thinking about disposable income. And if they can recruit these people,
Right.
make them brand loyalists, same as
Hmm.
politicians, if you can recruit someone and make them loyal to your party or to a cause, they will stay with you. And in many cases, they
Yeah.
will ignore the bad things you've done. They will ignore the lies you've told. They will ignore
True.
the fines you've paid. And when he was
Right.
done talking to her, she understood. Here's the thing, you have an opportunity to make a difference, and it's very uncomfortable. I remember the first time I went to vote, I felt like everything the politicians I was voting for were talking about was not relevant to me. Man, they were talking about other stuff.
No.
None of it had
Yeah.
anything to do with me. But
Exactly.
we forget, look, here's a great example. Our neighbor to the south, Mexico, man, they've had, I think, over 2 dozen uh, murders and assassinations of political candidates for this election
Yeah, I
that
know.
they either have coming up or just had. And
Yeah, I've seen
that's
it.
that's a pretty terrifying thing to think about. We have a
It is.
voice,
Yeah.
and I think people forget, if you sit back and say, I'm objecting and protesting both candidates, so I'm not voting. So now what you have done is given a vote to the candidate you don't want in office. And people don't
Hmm.
really seem to understand that. And it was really interesting me getting to be in the Netherlands a few months ago with the
Mm,
elections taking place and watching the
right.
campaigning and listening. And I thought, man, I am 6,500 miles away from my US home turf, and you all are
Of
dealing with some of the same issues.
course. Yeah. Yeah. If America sneezes, we get a cold. We have this saying about the Netherlands and Germany, but it's the same. It expanded, I'm sure. Yeah.
Right, but that's a great expression,
Yeah.
and I guess if the Netherlands coughs, America gets a buzz.
Some
I
Americans
joke,
do. Yeah.
I joke,
Yeah.
but I
So
think
anyway, yeah.
so here's a question for you, because
Yeah.
this is the $64 million question. You alluded to it at the beginning. A two-party system makes little sense now because we're such a big developed country. How do you fix the challenges currently taking place in the US of A?
Mm. As a regard to in general,
As regards to
because
politics, let's keep it simple.
yeah, it's a big problem, isn't it? Yeah. Well, it's so ingrained in the American society, this whole two-party system. And there are a lot of things that don't add up. There's some stuff that's I think is really dishonest in the first place because there are several examples for that. Like you have to register for a party to be in a pre-election state or something, pre-elections.
Most states require that.
That's inherently dishonest
Yeah,
because
most
yeah,
states require you
they
to do that.
exclude you if you want to be an independent, right?
Correct.
And that's not good. That's not good. In that way, there's no honest election to begin with.
So
So that's the biggest flaw.
let
And
me explain.
what can you do about that? I have no
I
idea.
want to explain for people that are listening what you just said, because that's a profound
Yeah,
statement. You have the Republican Party and the Democrat Party as the two primary parties in the
yeah,
United States. There are other parties,
right.
Libertarian, Green, etc.,
Independence.
but it doesn't matter. And what you
Yeah,
said was
yeah,
in a state where you have to register your party affiliation,
right,
if you are registered, for example, as an independent, you have absolutely no voice in
right,
the primaries that lead up to the general
right,
election. And
right,
that is a
right.
profound thing to point out,
Yeah,
because we were talking about freedom of speech and the right to vote. And
mm,
if you refuse to identify with either party, then
right.
you're forced to sit on the sidelines because of archaic rules that are, in some people's belief,
Which, yeah,
designed to keep certain votes out of tabulation. And I think that's a
exactly.
dangerous thing. I feel, and I agree with
Yeah,
you.
it is.
The reality is, I know people who are Democrats, and they are registered Republicans, and they'll vote for the candidate that is least likely to win so they can dilute the vote. And I think that's a really interesting thing to do. But I feel the thing that's also missing here in the United States is Americans rely on 30-second, 10-second, and 60-second sound bites to get their information. And
Right.
that's how they make their decisions. They don't do research,
Yes.
or they trust what someone told them
Yeah.
without verifying the veracity, the truth of that.
Yeah. Well, these clips here in the Netherlands are traditionally around 2.5, 3 minutes. So does you can convey more specific information about the program
Right.
which you're handling for the coming elections and the things you are that are important to your party. So that's already better. That's maybe it's how it should be in America as well. Also, something that's really striking to me is that there are certain demographic groups in the United States. They can be anybody can go to a lawyer and say, well, I think these people are not eligible for voting because so and so and so because they have they're everybody that's beneath 10 years in the United States should be able to vote because they don't know what's going on, blah, 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 stuff like that. And they get a judge approve this stance and rule out an entire group of people.
Well,
How is that possible?
to
Somebody
your
having
argument,
an American passport. That's ridiculous.
to your argument, you've got people who are second and third generation and fourth generation Americans who know little about politics. You know,
Exactly.
the joke is that
Yeah.
the individuals who apply for and receive American citizenship know
Yeah.
more about American politics than the average American
Yeah.
because they learn about it. And I
But
mean,
it's really bad that somebody or some judge can rule out your right to vote,
well,
which is
if you're
ridiculous
paying
to
attention,
me.
this is the thing that I help people understand. Everybody, even if you're not in politics and don't pay attention to it, everybody goes through school, and every classroom is a micro fiefdom. Every teacher, no matter what they have to do from the start to the finish of their day,
Yeah.
can set a set of rules, set a set of standards. They can decide how they are going to manage their classroom. Each one of those is a micro dictatorship. And
Right.
a
But
courtroom is the same thing. If you take a look at the judge that was, I believe, a Trump appointed judge that's currently listening to the classified document case that's being heard here in Florida,
yeah. Yeah.
what a mess. What a mess.
Right.
This is a judge who wouldn't be qualified to sit in for Judge Judy. I don't know if you know who she is. She's a
Yeah, of course I
good,
do.
yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
she vacillates more than a, you know, one of those beak birds that dips down into the water every so often. So, um, but that's just my
Oh my
opinion.
gosh.
I know very
Yeah.
little. Um, but I think so. As far back as I can remember, multi-party systems have always been a thing in Western
Yeah.
European countries.
Yeah.
From the
Yeah.
very first time you
Well,
went to the polling station to vote, do you remember having
yeah.
a multi-party system to choose from?
Of course. Yeah. And I didn't know. I asked my mom. I said, what do I have to do? And she said, well, you vote for the Liberal Party, dear. And I did it because, yeah, what else can you do? You
Well,
know, that's the parent child thing. That's
sure.
you're you know, that's something you do. You know, you follow your parents when you're young,
But
and
you trusted
later
your
on,
mom too.
of course, of course, of course, and that's also very obvious, of course. So in the early days of my adulthood, so to speak, I did what my mom told me to do, and I adopted her stance and her political points of view, stuff like that. Later on, I changed it around because they you form your own opinion, stuff like that. So and so yeah, I think 18 years old is. I think some kids are really really politically educated or informed, but a lot of guys like me, when I was 18, I didn't know anything.
Same.
So it's it's very um, subjective, so to speak. Just can't. Well, I think it's good. 18, fine. You know, you can always form your own. If you go along with your parents at that age, whatever. You know, and later on you start forming your own opinions and you do it your own political preference, of course,
Right.
and that's fine. That's I guess that's how it goes. Because if you say well you can't vote when you're 18 years old, you take away the right to vote of all these politically engaged kids the same age that do have interest in politics. So I think it's a good thing that it stays at 18. That's fine.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
you know, I wanted to also you had shared a video with me of a bunch of college kids singing God Bless America, and you know, for me as a photographer, I think the optics, the perspective will always tell the story, the narrative you want it to tell. And
Yeah.
I feel I was like, that's great. They're all out singing, but you know, there's alcohol and who knows
Yeah.
what else is involved. So,
Yeah.
you know, I think, you know, we're at a great point here to start to wrap this up. And my message for starters is please vote. No matter where
Yeah.
you live
Absolutely.
in the world, you
Absolutely.
have the
Yeah.
opportunity to vote. please vote. Number
Yes.
two,
Yeah.
please educate yourself. Please
Yes.
learn about the candidates, learn
Yes.
about the
Yeah.
propositions, learn about
Right.
the proposals that you are voting on,
Yeah.
and find out, because you're you're always going to have three sides to the truth. You've got the two sides who are arguing for or against the candidate or the
Yeah.
policy or the bill or the referendum.
Right.
In the middle is the truth. You can actually
The
pick
truth.
some bits and
Exactly.
pieces, and
Right.
that's how that's how you should make your choice. For example, the idea of marijuana legalization. The
Right.
the the people who are most against marijuana legalization, based on my research, has been number one, tobacco and liquor companies, and number two, religious organizations.
Yeah.
And I find that remarkable because none of these organizations were against themselves. The
No. Exactly.
tobacco, I feel like the tobacco organization does not have any skin in the game. They have no right to voice their concern, because
Exactly.
they kept concealed
Yeah.
for decades the knowledge
Right.
they had of how damaging, how dangerous, how life-threatening
Yeah.
cigarette
They
tobacco
did.
was.
Yeah.
So,
They made it even
um,
more dangerous.
yes, they do.
They
So,
made it even more dangerous to put
educate.
in more
Yeah,
nicotine.
no, it's
Yeah.
true. It's true. I mean,
Yeah.
you see it. I it was reassuring to see in the Netherlands that there's still plenty of people who
Yeah.
roll their own cigarettes and sometimes throw
Yeah.
something else in it. But
Yeah.
um, educate yourself, vote,
Yeah.
and and
Let me.
appreciate the fact you have those two rights, because
Yeah.
there are, and I have been, and you and I have been to countries where you don't have those rights. You don't have those rights to
Exactly.
seek to educate yourself on anything you want. You don't have those rights
Right.
to vote however you want. That's
Gaza.
that's huge. That's important. What would you advise?
Oh, like, well, what can I advise? If I look at this, the political situation right now in the States with Biden and Trump, I do not envy the American people right now because it's a big, I don't know, it's a
You know
big
what?
problem. It,
We're regardless of what happens
yeah,
in November into January, we're going to get through it. We have survived. The United States has survived far more, I don't want to say more terrifying, but they have survived other terrifying issues, things that led to the Civil War, assassinations of presidents. Um, let's not forget
mm,
Watergate. Watergate is something that
yeah.
is
Well,
our generation. We lived through that, and um,
let's not forget what happened after the last American elections with the big crowd running up to the stairs of the
thank
White
you.
House.
Yes,
How
yes,
about that? That
yes.
was a pretty scary situation as well.
That was I
Oh
remember
gosh.
talking to you about that, and I
Yeah.
you were more concerned and terrified for the American public than most Americans I'd spoken
Mm,
to, and that again kind of struck
yeah.
me for
It can
how
happen just
educated
like that.
others are.
You
Yeah,
know, a lot of people don't realize it, but our democratic values and our liberal and democratic free state is very thin layer of power, a very
right.
thin layer.
That's right.
Remember what happened in the 70s in Iran?
Oh
There
yeah.
was a secular state. There was a
Yep.
secular state. There were modern people over there. There was science, there was culture, there was music, there was everything. And then
Yep.
all of a sudden, the Shah, he fucked up.
Yes.
And then came this religious leader, came in, and everybody
Yep.
went after him,
That's right. That's
uh,
right.
the,
And that's
the,
a
the
thing. I want
Islamists,
to
and it turned around.
that's where we should end right there. Is I want people to think
Yeah.
about that. If you want to
Yes.
see what a country looks like when it's led
Mm,
by Sharia law, when it's led strictly by religious optics, you need to look at one of these other countries, and that way you
yeah.
understand. If you think your freedoms are being
Yeah.
abridged now, take a look at that.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, there you go. And it's very hard now to make a choice, as far as I'm concerned, because with the Democrats, I have a little bit of problems with Joe Biden as well because I don't think
Sure.
he's a very capable man. And I
Well,
wouldn't go so far that he's like an old senile. Or, you know what? It's a little bit harsh. I don't know
well,
because and
we don't know because
talking about being honest and about being genuine. I have problems with that. I don't know. I don't know exactly what it. On the other
I
end, you have
understand what you're
Trump.
saying.
What do you do? What do you do?
Well, we
If
don't
let me put it
we're
this
not
way.
in here's the thing, we're not in the room with him, and I agree,
Yeah.
the American public didn't know that in Reagan's second term he was suffering from Alzheimer's, and his wife was advising on world and national policy by consulting a
Oh,
psychic
yeah.
every week. So,
Right. Yeah.
we
Yeah.
anyway, thoughts for people to ponder.
Yeah.
Please,
Right.
as Tone likes to say,
Like and subscribe.
that's right. Click like and subscribe.
Yeah.
Share your thoughts and comments
Yeah.
with us, and we promise you for the next
Yeah.
episode we'll have something a little lighter. Until then,
Yeah.
much love from both of us.
Yes. And it's very important to have our freedom.
Yes, please go out
Yeah.
and vote.
Please
Go
go
out and
out and
vote
vote. Yes.
because you can always have a
And
worse choice.
educate yourself,
Yes,
not only
please.
in politics, but also in world politics
That's right.
and also in religion. It's
And
very important.
educating yourself includes tuning in and
Yeah.
listening to us talk.
And don't and don't believe everything you hear.
No,
Look at all sides and see what's really happening.
I
There's
agree.
only one objective truth. Thank you. I'll drink to that.
Yes.
Heineken. Oh,
Until the next,
that's right. That's
until
advertisement. That's really
the,
American, isn't it?
yes, it is. Until the, until the
Ah,
next episode. Later.
ja, man, it's been fun. Later.